All right, welcome everyone, Chicago Football Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Letizia. Follow me on Twitter at CFC Bears, joined by my co-host, as always, Luke O'Grady. Follow him on Twitter at Luke O'Grady. And we're back. It's been a few weeks, took a couple weeks off because we've just been busy with real life and stuff. But we're back and to talk the Chicago Bears, specifically the Week 6 win against the Jaguars. But I also want to get kind of in the last couple weeks. I don't want to just forget about kind of what we missed. We'll kind of cover it all. But I was trying to think of a way to start this podcast without just jumping right into Caleb Williams. Couldn't
totally
think of anything. So let's just do that. Let's just jump right into Caleb
Well, it's
Williams.
a funny thing because, I think the expectations were that the Bears had a good roster, but the only thing that mattered was that Caleb Williams was good or got better or, proved to be worth whatever, we paid for him. And, pretty early now, 6 games into the season, at the very least, he's shown he's like a baseline NFL starter already, which I feel like with quarterbacks in the past, we had to fight for that case early, which is encouraging because it means what is a talented roster is now a fairly competitive roster if you can just give us baseline quarterback play. But it's been getting better every week. And if you want to just go into the Caleb Williams stuff, we can, but it's really encouraging, man. It's so there are very few superlatives for how positive I am about this Bears team right now and the future of this Bears team.
Seriously. I think we got to just give the people what they want. People are tuning in to hear about Caleb Williams. So let's just talk about it. Don't beat him on the bush. Let's just do it.
Well, we missed the last couple of games. Do you want to talk about kind of how we got to Week 6 or how we got to now, or do you want to go Week 6 and then add some context?
Well, let's talk. I guess let's go back a few weeks because we missed 2 games, right? We missed Rams and Panthers, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
So let's just quickly kind of recap then. So it's kind of where we had the Colts game, which we did talk about, and I think we both were kind of talking, saying he threw the 2 picks, but he also threw for 360 yards and looked good for the most part. And it was just so obvious in that game that he might not have arrived because there were some mistakes there, but the good really outweighed the bad. And then the last 3 weeks have just been all good, really not much bad at all. So it's been, if you just look at it, passer rating, obviously not the greatest thing to judge it on, a QB performance on, but you went from 80 to 106 to 126 and then 124. So it's pretty easy to see that progression. And like you said, you're at least going to be expecting baseline quarterback play moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
Not to get into the past too much, but, with Trubisky, Cutler, Fields, I'm going way back. It's always these first couple of weeks, you'd be like, yeah, the stats don't look great, but if you take these stats and this stats, he's actually playing so much better than what the stats are. You don't have to do that anymore because the stats are telling the story and the eye test is telling the story.
Totally. Yeah, there was a graph about how often quarterbacks throw past their first read and then their EPA on those throws. And it was the first time I looked at it, it was a quadrant. And first time I looked at it, where you look at the quadrants and then you see the quadrant that has all the names that you want to be in that quadrant. And it was our quarterback was right there. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I think Justin Fields, God love him. He was exactly where you think he is.
Right.
You don't even need to see the graph. You know where he is.
And I think that I know exactly which graph you're talking about because it was all over Twitter. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, was taking all 6 games into account.
Totally.
So I'd only imagine if you just took the last 4 games, that would look even better.
Every time I see a conglomerate stat of the year so far, I just in my head I'm like, yeah, but just show week 3 through 6 though.
Yeah, I know
because that's been the case.
But a 4-week sample, that's a quarter of a season.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking a 4-week sample size,
dude,
smaller. But
I was gonna say this to start it off. It feels crazy that we're already 6 games into this.
Yeah, I know.
The season goes by so fucking fast.
I know. It's the weeks in the off season are just drag by.
Dude,
and then
totally.
1 week.
I was thinking about I'll wait 9 months for football and it'll kill you, but you get through it and it's now I'm waiting a week for Bears football, which admittedly that game coming up is
now we got to wait 2 weeks for this one.
I know. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But no, without getting ahead of ourselves, that game in 2 weeks, I haven't been as excited for a Bears game in a while.
We got to get into that.
Anyway, so so far, the first 2 weeks, the moment looked a little big for Caleb. And
Mm,
honestly, from some of the conversations that have come out of Hallis Hall about how the offense was being run, nothing seemed to be working.
yeah.
Even like the little things like play calling, but also like personnel. Like the last 3 weeks, we haven't had to do the stuff where we're like, why is that Gerald Everett or why is that Travis Homer? Like the gear, you're seeing a lot more Roshan. Whatever's Khalil Herbert must have killed somebody.
Who knows what Khalil Herbert did?
That's crazy, but maybe he's trade fodder at the deadline. Um, but the personnel decisions are improving, the play calling is improving, and the players are improving. And at the heart of that is Caleb Williams. And like I was saying, the first 2 weeks it felt sloppy.
He
Everything
was pressing.
you couldn't tell anything about anyone in the offense those first 2 weeks.
I think it was really important for Caleb Williams to come out. He really wanted to come out and just be the guy right from the beginning. And
Totally,
he was pressing. It was going like
totally.
looking back
Dude,
at
he
it now.
was
He was pressing.
spinning it. It looked
He.
forced, and it doesn't look anything like it did the last couple of weeks.
It's not a coincidence that he didn't throw his first touchdown pass till week 3, and it's not a coincidence that after he threw that first touchdown pass, it has looked completely different. I think he
Dude,
needed to get
the
that
second
monkey off.
half of the Colts game
Yeah,
was like, okay, that was the guy that you drafted.
yeah,
It didn't look like it was forced anymore. He was started
yeah,
to just take what was given to him. It probably had a lot to do with like Shane Waldron and the rest of the offense getting their stuff figured out. And in
yeah,
fairness, it's going to be something you hear from other people, and it's probably something that's a good grain of salt to keep in mind. We have played a couple of bad teams in a row. Now you
yeah.
have to beat up on bad teams, but they have, and
Right.
they could have lost that Rams game. In the past,
Yeah.
you look at that game and say this is a similar similar ranked teams, and they absolutely have a head coaching advantage, and they have Matt Stafford. Like
Hmm.
the Bears could have easily lost that game, but they win that one after losing one that I think everybody pegged them as winning versus the Colts, and then two really really good performances in a row for Caleb against the Panthers, which was a pounding,
Yeah.
and
And the Jaguars.
the Jaguars, which was a pounding.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to mention that it what has been 3 bad defenses in a row.
Totally.
But you play who you play.
You play who you
And
play. And some of
you play
those
who you
stats
play.
look like that because they played Caleb Williams and the Bears.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that. I see all these stats. It's like, well, these teams are the worst defense in the league. It's like, yeah, because 20% of their
Bears
defensive
hung
snaps have
35
come
on.
against. It's too small of a sample size to say this is a bad defense
No.
through only just 6 weeks. I mean, I don't think I'm pretty sure that the Panthers and Jaguars will be towards the bottom of the league
Really?
at the end of the year. But
Yep.
the Rams, I don't think are.
No,
They're
I had a.
well, but I think they're a decent defense, to be honest.
They're a very underrated defense. Their secondary
Yeah.
needs some work. They have a really underrated pass rush. They got a lot of people there to like. They got Kobe Turner, who I loved coming out. I had him
Yeah,
on. I think I had him as like 6th or 7th ranked defensive tackle.
Yeah.
They have Byron Young. They got
Jared
Fisk.
Verse.
They got Jared Verse.
Yeah. That front seven is good. I mean,
It's
after
fun.
losing
It's
Aaron
fun
Donald,
and
it's
young.
fun. It's young. Yeah, it's
Totally.
it's
They did the Moneyball approach. We're just gonna back-to-back picks. FSU starting defensive line.
yeah, yeah, right. But,
No, but I totally agree. When I was like picking out my season win total, I had us 4-2 through the start, and I had us winning against the Colts and losing against the Rams. I kind of thought that losing against the Rams was going to be the comeback down to life game, but actually it kind of ended up being like the better version of the Titans game. We didn't let it get away from us too much. Caleb didn't end up shooting himself in the foot, and kind of was able to play us into one when we needed him. And after that one, man, he looked totally in control against the Jags.
yeah.
I mean, his first throw of the game should have been a pick six, but after that, and honestly, since then, and I guess the DJ Moore pick, it's funny that those 2 picks are like the only bad balls I can think about those last 2 games. He's been great. He's been like he seems to have a better grip of the offense. You can tell he just gets football, man. Like the way he sets up his shoulders for a throw that, like sometimes I think people will call it like getting to a second read because like he'll set up one way, just knowing he's coming back and like just setting up that window for it to be there. So I don't even know if it's a second read as much as it was always going there and he's just setting it up. But with his arm velocity and the players around him, man, they can get open. And if he's getting them the ball, like him and Keenan Allen put on a masterclass against the Jags about like small window openings. Like that is the kind of stuff. It's Like it was so good. It's so insane to watch a Bears quarterback do that. It's like almost romantic how good it is sometimes.
And the way he's getting through his reads, like you mentioned, I do think there are some times where you're right. He is just looking one way just to hold the safety. The touchdown to DJ Moore against the Panthers, the long one, the not the first one, but the second one, uh, where it was, I think that one was one where he was clearly just holding the safety and then always coming back to the left hand side.
Yeah.
But then other times he is getting through his read. There was one against the Jaguars where he went quickly left, middle, right, back to the
Check
check
down.
down,
I
which was
know,
just
man.
so nice to see. And
Dude,
and
in
the
the
way he was holding,
Jags,
yeah,
in one of the Jags games, actually, I'll let you finish because it's actually something else that I wanted to ask you about. It's a
well, I
wild
was
topic.
just gonna say, like, I mean, just kind of going back to the holding the safeties, he did the same thing against the Jaguars. It was holding a linebacker with his eyes and then just coming back and firing a bullet right
Yeah,
over, right past the linebacker and into the second
100%.
level.
Yeah. Oh, it's Komet, so good. That was actually the prettiest ball of the day that day. Um,
Yeah,
Bear Lismo's comment, don't know a pick six. I think the Panthers game. The Panthers game, that
yeah.
first throw, he kind of came late to that
It was
uh out
it was
to Keenan
Keenan
Allen.
Allen on
And
the
Keenan
out. It
Allen
was the
makes the play, like tips it away, but it honestly
Was
probably
that
could
the
have been a pick
Panthers game or
six.
the Rams game? But yeah, it was
That was
the
the
wind
Panthers.
really. I think it was the Panthers. Yeah, the wind like really. They even said the
Yeah,
wind
that's
kind of.
true. And honestly, I did notice that in
So
the
that's the one that
mic
that
down.
uh that we're talking about
But
there.
Waldron totally calling nice stuff. I want something I want to say about the Panthers game, and it felt like this is like something on the whole that I've been really impressed with Caleb is his pre-snap stuff. And I tweeted this out, and uh, it's like just some pre-snap motion. He moves Komet like from an offset to like in line, and then like Romo Doomsday replaces him. It's actually kind of nifty, and you can see from the way they shift and the way they pass off that it's man. And then he knows that and instantly checks that little man beater with Odunze coming back across the formation, rolls out like just on a dime, like throwing across his body, puts it on his upfield shoulder so he can move upfield. And honestly, if he breaks that one tackle, it could have been a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in his third game in the NFL or fourth game or wherever it is, he's up there like, IDing the coverage from like just some movement that Waldron's given him, and to that point, like I think Waldron's been doing this really well. Gets the boys in the right position and just executes. Like that's what it's been the last two games. And like in the Panthers game, like he could have had 4 or 5 touchdowns. They just had 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns because I felt like they were almost honestly trying to make a point of it, and they did, it
Yeah.
looked good, and I think it built some confidence in the run game. But like he's just putting them in so many good positions, and you're really starting to see like the playmakers are like this offense can be like a really big issue for some teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they I like how they kept throwing the ball too. Like they were up in the last
Totally.
2 games, they were up big, and in past seasons, the Bears would be like, especially Eberflus would be like, okay, we're gonna run the ball 3 times, and if we don't get a first down, we're gonna punt.
Scared.
But
It
that's
felt
not
yeah.
what happened.
It
They
was
kept
so
throwing the
bad with
ball. They kept
Getsy
being aggressive.
that like I know me and you have said it before that we were like it has to be like tank focused. How like cowardice the play calling was, and you're right. They really didn't take it off the gas. I wonder if
They
that's a
didn't.
little bit of Caleb coming to them being like,
I I mean, I think that's. I don't know if it was tank focused in the past. I think it was they didn't trust their quarterback to not turn the ball over. Now
right.
they do trust their quarterback to not turn the ball over. So yeah, yeah, definitely you got to give Waldron his flowers. We
Yeah,
we were tough on him. Everyone was tough on him those first two
totally.
weeks, and I think that was partially. There were some things he needed to do better, like the not scripting the plays was ridiculous. We can get in that a little bit, but everyone was tough on him, and I think a lot of that was, at least in my mind, I was getting a little nervous about Caleb, but that's just stupid Bears fan brain. But uh,
Totally.
but you got to give him his credit, and you have to give the offensive line their credit. They've played a lot better in the last couple of weeks. Again, not as good of defense. I do still think offensive line is going to be an issue going forward. I think they just have played better because we played bad defenses.
Yeah.
But still, got to
It'll
give
be
them their credit.
interesting.
You play who you play. So
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of tough defenses really coming down the pipe until we hit the NFC North.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. I think. Um, wait, I think you're trying to say Waldron is trusting Caleb more.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sentiment is true. I do think they just
Yeah.
trust him.
And honestly, the point he makes after too is true, and he says in that 4th and 5 never looked in doubt, and it actually does feel like that. There's like a sense of calm. watching him operate in the pocket that I didn't feel with other Bears quarterbacks. With other Bears quarterbacks, it's like, just throw it or do something. Like I kind of was like, oh, you're gonna fuck this up.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
know that there probably still will. Those moments will happen.
oh
Like
yeah.
a good thing to a funny way to look at it is the last 4 weeks he has like pretty much across any metric you want to look at improved week over week in the way he's played. Like linearly gotten better each week, looked faster, looked sharper. The whole team kind of has, which is exciting.
Can I
Um,
can I just sorry, finish your thought?
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say that it's not always going to be like that. There are going to be some times when he comes back down to earth because he's operating at a pretty high level already, especially the last couple of weeks. And it won't always be that linear, but like it's hard to not be really bullish about it right now, Bears fans.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely he's playing at a really high level now, and the defenses that he's playing helps that. Like there's going to be more bumps in the road. I don't think at this point we could say he's going to be playing this well for the rest of his career.
Yep.
Like there's going to be times this season where he looks a little bit like how he looked in week 1 and week 2.
The Notre Dame game.
Yeah,
he'll have his Notre Dame.
But right now, I would just want to enjoy what we're experiencing right now. So I'm going to just I have his stats of the last 4 games extrapolated over 17 games.
Dang.
And they're just insane. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's 4,400 yards, 4,462 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 13 picks, another 468 yards on the ground. Those are MVP level numbers.
That's nuts, right?
Right?
And man, it felt like that. Like yeah. I am a pretty optimistic fan, but I'm also a fairly realistic fan. And I think honestly, me and you, even halfway through his second season, we were like, dude, Fields can't do this.
Yeah.
And like it does, like it's hard to poke holes in Caleb's game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what don't you like? Do you like the fact that his release is like one of the fastest I've ever seen at the professional level? Do you like the fact that the last couple of weeks his ball placement has been like anything less than sublime? The 2 touchdowns to Keenan Allen legit make it like like Keenan Allen's playing against air.
Yeah. Those 2 touchdown passes is it doesn't matter what defense you're playing against. If you put the ball where you put the ball, you can't. It's irrelevant. You could have Sauce Gardner, or you could have prime Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders, and it wouldn't matter because the ball.
It's the little things like him knowing, okay, I'm going here. He's going to get me a foot of space, and I'm putting it on his hands. It's the little thing. Like the first couple of weeks, maybe he knew that, and we kind of saw he was forcing it and trying to maybe place it. Now he's at the second level where it's okay. Like instead of just going there, I'm doing everything I can for 1 second to make the safety think that he's not, so that he doesn't get killed on these like over the middle throws. And it's really letting their playmakers shine. I think it's really underrated how consistent Rome Odunze has been. The Bears really have something to him, and I think he's really lucky to be playing with Keenan Allen right now. And 2, it's showing how talented this whole team is.
Yeah, I just want to highlight this because Barry Lismo was at the game in London.
Damn.
And he tweeted out the live ones from the edge, and they actually were really cool. So if you haven't seen those,
I did. I think I did.
I think it's just at Barry Lismo on Twitter. I don't know if that's for sure what it is, but if you haven't seen those, definitely go check those out. Those were pretty cool. But yeah, I think that if we're gonna nitpick Caleb at this point, and this isn't a nitpick, this is actually something that he needs to prove on, is just the deep ball accuracy. Totally. There have been issues there for sure.
Still feels like a deep breath thing for him.
Yeah, I again not worried about it at all. He was very accurate on deep passes in college. You don't just forget how to throw a deep ball. It's just getting in time with the receiver, getting used to how your receivers, the speed of the NFL and your receivers and everything like that. So I'm not worried about it, but just to be fair, the deep ball hasn't been there really.
Yeah, and I did tweet this out. And
he's had a few shots.
3 weeks it was way worse, but like he'll fully throw an errant deep.
Yeah, I mean he did against the Jaguars. That ball to DJ Jamore was.
It just felt like it felt like for whatever reason on that one he wanted to see it before he threw it. It's like just put it out to space, man.
Yeah, I don't know if that one was. I couldn't tell if that one was where he just didn't think the safety had a chance to get there at all, so he was just trying to get a completion.
Yeah.
Or if he was just thinking, I've overthrown a lot of deep balls this year. I don't want to overthrow it again, so he just underthrew it. I don't know what it was, but
he said post game that in practice they had run that from that spot where they basically he said they run it to the back pylon of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in his mind he thought like this is a catch it in the end zone type thing. But I think the way it was defended, you almost just rip off the 25-yarder. And maybe DJ was thinking that too, and that's kind of how they got crossed up. But It didn't look
Yeah.
good. I also think he took a little extra hitch at the bottom of his step. I think if he just cut it loose when he got there and took took what was there. But these are little things.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
Wh-
we're
Whatever it
picking
is,
apart
it
one
doesn't matter.
play.
Yeah, it's one play, and it's a play that he's gonna hit over the course of his career more often than he's not gonna hit it. So not worried about
Yep.
it.
No, but it was good. That's the Caleb Williams story. It's hard not to be optimistic. The last couple of weeks, he has gotten better every single week, and I think by a lot of metrics, you could argue the last 3 weeks he's been one of the best players in football. Honestly, 6 touchdowns and 1 pick, and probably like 130 yards rushing and 500 yards passing the last 2 weeks. And yeah, it's the Jags and the Panthers, but like other teams have been running them close. It's like we beat the brakes off them. Which is a good transition to the other guys. Should we talk about the other guys?
Yeah, just real quick, like just to finish it up with Caleb is I've thought a lot of times in my life over my 33 years of life, I've thought to myself, said out loud, tweeted, whatever it may be, the Bears finally have a quarterback. I've said that so many times in my life, but in the back of my mind, I was always like not really sure. I've never been more sure that the Bears have a quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know yet if we have a top 5 quarterback, top 3 quarterback, top 10 quarterback, top 15 quarterback, but
Right.
there's not a doubt in my mind this guy is an NFL starter for 15 years.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I was I would have been anywhere from like 13 or maybe 14 straight through like 21 or 22 having Jay Cutler at quarterback, and like I probably did believe that we really had the guy in Jay Cutler, but I honestly just didn't get it at the time. I feel like now I really would call myself a ball knower, and it was hard with Mitch and Justin, man, because it was like, yeah, you could I could tell myself like you could build an offense around them, I guess. Like you have a good team in him, like why not? But it's like you like if this guy keeps playing like the way he's playing, he's going to be one of those players that it's like, yo, you don't need to give him too much. You have him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, do we want to get into other people now?
Yeah, sure. I've been pleasantly surprised with most of this roster, honestly.
What was that?
I've been pleasantly surprised with most of this roster, honestly. And I think as we get healthy, I think the bye week came at a good time. It's going to have good top end talent and good healthy depth too.
It's so cool having the wide receiver room that they do, because you don't know when the game starts which wide receiver is going to have a day. But you did, because you had Keenan Allen anytime touchdown.
You want me to run you through that? In the mic'd up, Caleb Williams walks up to Keenan Allen and goes, "We'll get you one, man. Like we're gonna get you one," and they don't get him one that game. Yeah. And then I was watching Rich Eisen interviewed the team and was on his podcast talking about his experience being around the Bears, and he was like, "Dude, Caleb Williams is all business. That guy is possessed." But then he says a throwaway comment. He goes, "I also really think they want to get Keenan Allen a touchdown." So I literally was. I don't really make a whole lot of sports bets. I went to my buddies. I was like, I need someone to make me a bet today, because someone messaged me in the morning and was like, the Jags are favored, and I was like, we are gonna fucking kill this team. So I was like, boys, I need someone to make me a parlay. Bears win money line and Keenan Allen touchdown. And the first time they went down, you could tell that they had that play drawn up for him, and it gets blown up. It's like that speed out, and then they ran it in. And then they get down again, and they ran that speed out, and it probably should have been a touchdown, but there was a penalty on it. And I was like, dude, they're not going to get it. And then they basically just fed him in the red zone the whole day.
Yeah.
They the touchdown throw to him was the very next play, and I remember thinking that was basically Keenan Allen and Caleb Williams going, dude, I'm just going to throw it to your back. I'm just going to get you open, bud. Just get open.
Yeah. You get open and I'll hit you.
Yeah, I'm looking over here for 1 second, and then I'm coming to you, and it's going to be high and hard. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, legal shift.
Yeah, I went to watch the game. I went to the Milwaukee Potawatomi Sportsbook, which is new, and I got there at 8:30. I got there a little bit too late to actually place a bet on the Bears. I wanted to get there early and place a bet, but I slept in a little bit.
So 8:30 was that kickoff for you?
8:30 was that kickoff, and I just sat at the Potawatomi and watched football and drank all morning, and what a life. And then I placed bets on other games and I got crushed. I didn't win. I won one bet out of my 6.
I don't know if I've it's been a while since I felt this good after a Bears win.
Yeah.
I felt really good after the Bears beat the Patriots a couple years ago because I remember thinking that was kind of my.
Hmm.
I was like, you can build the. I was like, if Justin can keep doing this, you can build
Yeah.
the team around this. But
Yeah.
not
That was
only
probably like that.
um, not only was this the game where I was like, dude, this kid's arrived. This kid can play NFL quarterback. There's no doubt about it. If he can do that, if he can just do that, and even then, it's like he only threw for 240 yards, but he just commanded the game. If he can do that
Yeah.
consistently, this Bears team is going to be in every game they play in this year. Um,
Absolutely.
and on top of it, like a lot of the other, like the Bears have some good players, man, and some contributors.
Yeah.
Just coming out of that Jags game, 4-2 through 6 games has got to be the best we've been in so long. When was the last time we were positive through 6 games?
2017.
Yeah, 2018 maybe.
Or is that 2018?
Yeah,
I mean,
2018. Like the Bears have a good football team and an exciting young quarterback, and like I think it became evident in the Jags game, and it was such funny timing because it's like, okay, now we get this 1 week bye to get ready, and then we get to go play like which probably now one of the most fun games on our schedule, which before the year was like, whatever, and now it's like, dude,
yeah.
gets flexed to the 5. Yeah, we got Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on the call. Like it's so good. It's such a fun time to be a Bears fan, and like I was just like after the Jags game, I was like elated.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Torrey
and I think
Taylor's 61-yard average punt.
Troy Taylor just hit a
Sure.
bomb. Yeah, I think it's just we got to enjoy it. I mean, we've waited a long time for
Totally.
this, and just remember that there's still gonna be ups and downs. But like I feel like
Yep.
even if they come out next against Washington and kind of stumble a little bit, it's like okay, that's fine. Like in that case, it's just like okay, Washington had a good game plan. We'll get them next week. It's not the sky's falling and we were wrong. Like
no, 100%. And like, I was thinking today, like there is part of me that thinks like it's a scary spot to be in if we end up being average this year. You know, if we see some regression from some people, and then like we get stuck in limbo at head coach or something like that, because you say you have a great defense because you have great players, but like a lot of these guys like weren't like it's really hard to understate the influence that Eberflus has at least had on the defense. Yeah. Ever since he took over play calling, the Bears have been like they've been adults in the room when it comes to defense. Yeah. Like they haven't been a laughingstock, and like it's kind of at the end of last year, the Bears were building some momentum, and their defense was a huge part of that. And like now, like being an above 500 football team, like if defense is your identity, like I guess maybe a better question is this: how do you feel about Matt Eberflus?
I feel good about Matt. I mean, you got to point to the deep, like obviously the defensive turnaround, but like it's doing the defensive turnaround with not a whole lot of star power. I mean, Jalen Johnson obviously is a star, but Jalen Johnson became a star once Eberflus came in. You know,
DeMarcus Walker played the best football of your life.
You got DeMarcus Walker, you got Andrew Billings playing their best football of their career. You have
who on that
Kevin
team
Byard
is not playing the best football of their life?
Yeah, Kevin Byard's having a kind of a comeback year. Jaquan Brisker's playing his best. Kyle Gordon's playing his best. Tyreek Stevenson is playing well when he's healthy, when he's actually playing.
Yeah.
I mean, even the linebackers. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds is playing well. T.J. Edwards is playing well.
Darrell Taylor.
Darrell Taylor. A lot of guys who are kind of not always top of the line guys, but the defense as a whole, as a unit, is playing better, greater than the sum of its parts for sure.
Dude, totally. And I was thinking to myself today, it almost feels like
I need you to talk for like 5 minutes because my computer's out of batteries. I don't have my charger.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll be right back.
I was going to make a larger point, so this is good. It does kind of have that same feeling as the 2018 Chicago Bears team. Just in that, like in a stars are aligning type thing. If you go and look at that 2018 Bears team, like Akeem Hicks played the best ball of his life. Khalil Mack played, if not the best ball of his life, some of the best ball of his life. Through 5 weeks, he looked like an MVP. Kyle Fuller playing the best ball of his life. Prince Amukamara playing the best football of his life. Obviously, the 2018 season for Eddie Jackson was one of the best seasons a safety's ever had. It's, for whatever reason, and I think you look at that, the stars align with getting Mac late as you did in the offseason. But also, I think even at the time, everybody knew that the defensive coordinator, I'm blanking on his name, was the reason that they were getting the most out of that unit. And it feels like that's something you have in Eberflus right now. Like all of these guys are playing about as good as they have ever played in the NFL. And if that's something that you can almost bank on, having Eberflus in the building, like that alone is almost like the case worth saying. Like I feel like a lot of the hate about him is probably more because of the offensive worries the Bears have faced, and maybe he hasn't been given the best tools to have a good offensive team. But it's hard to ignore the fact that this defense is playing out of their minds, and it's almost something you need to point to for regression, because it's like there's going to be a game where Darryl Taylor, Andrew Billings, and all these guys disappear, and maybe we that we get run on for 200 yards, or they pass all over us because you can't cover for 8 seconds, and that's more likely than not, because at the moment, everybody is playing so good.
Yeah.
Tremaine Edmonds is playing great football. TJ Edwards is playing great football.
Like I said, they're playing really well as a unit, which is all coaching. I mean, you got to put that on the coaching. I mean, I do think they do have some really good players as well, but they're just playing really well as a unit. And I do wonder if maybe we might see some regression a little bit as the year goes on, as we start playing better defenses. But they were even in a position where they can regress a little bit and still be a very good defense.
Yeah, they could have given up 2.5 more touchdowns last game and still won.
I think we were a little lucky. I mean, we obviously were missing Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson, and I think we were a little lucky that was against the Jags and not against the Packers or something, Totally. But the guy like Jalen Jones played pretty well for a backup, for third, fourth string cornerback coming in and having to start. Like those guys kind of came. Elijah Hicks. To be honest, I didn't really remember seeing much of Elijah Hicks, which is a good thing if you're a backup safety.
I think he had a fumble recovery and another big play. They were kind of pumping his tires in the broadcast, and as much as I kind of thought sometimes he got caught out of position, he was making his plays too.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, he did fine. He did exactly what you want out of a backup safety to do. You came in, maybe make some plays, don't kill the defense, don't kill the team, and just be solid. So, and I think again that's coaching, getting guys ready to play. So. Definitely hats off to Eberflus. I do think he took some shots early in the year, from myself included. And I think we gotta kind of go on the apology tour there, because I think we got a little emotional. I'm just kind of speaking for myself here, but I think I'm speaking for a lot of Bears fans. Got a little emotional early in the year, but I think Eberflus is here for a while now. He's kind of tied with Caleb. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Waldron's going to get head coaching opportunities this year. But if this year and next year Caleb Williams is really striving, then I think eventually he's going to be.
Yep.
And then hopefully you can just bring someone in. But I think the coaching staff, Eberflus is here for a while. He's kind of tied to Caleb at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the Bears are bad this year, or if the Bears don't make the playoffs, finish 8-8 or whatever, there's no it would be hard pressed even this late for the Bears to lose Eberflus. They'd have to pretty much lose out or do something similar, really, and Caleb looks bad for that to happen. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get next season. If he has a bad next season, you still have Caleb under contract for 3 years. You might consider making the change then. If he Bears win 6 games next year or something.
Yeah, unless there's a huge regression next year, I don't think there's any way that Eberflus would get fired.
So you think? I mean, it would feel like it's a disservice to Caleb if you tied him to a head coach that maybe you doubted was the guy. You know what I mean?
I just think Caleb is at a point. It will be at a point where he will keep you in games just by himself. So there will never be a 4-13.
He might already be there.
Right, he might even already be there. So if we're talking next year, the floor on this team would be pretty high, especially with how much cap space they have and how much draft capital they have. But anyway, speaking of draft capital, because I wanted to get your thoughts on this. It's kind of been on Twitter a little bit, but what are your thoughts?
Talk to me.
Trading? What's that?
So talk to me.
What are your thoughts on trading picks, even high picks, first round pick potentially, Panthers second round pick to get someone at the trade deadline here? And we have not talked about this at all before. actually
No,
don't
yeah.
know where you
So
stand.
I made a couple of tweets about it today, just in regards to some of the things that were coming out, and I said, like, if the Browns are blowing it up, you have to call, because that's Myles Garrett,
Myles
and he's
Garrett, yeah.
27 and he's 27 years old, and if Myles Garrett's available, you figure the rest out later. You might have a good quarterback, and he costs you, like, whatever, $4 million a year. That's when you go get a Myles Garrett. It's akin to
Mhm.
going and getting it's the Khalil Mack move.
Yeah.
It is the Khalil Mack move. It's saying it's pushing your chips in. So if someone like a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett was available, I would say, yo, dude, give him Panthers second, give him our first, give him a second the next year, and we'll pay him when he gets here. We have the money for it. Because at the very end of the day, getting Myles Garrett is almost never bad business, unless Myles Garrett, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to wish anything bad. But
Yeah.
so, like, a
No, I
move
got
like that, I'd be okay with. And it would have to be at, like, a premier position. If it's a half
you. Mhm.
measure of any kind, like if it's Hassan Reddick, or if it's like trading for like Quentin Nelson, like, I think you can relax, because you don't need to pay a premium this year, especially when you still say, hey, we don't really need to be Super Bowl champions this year. We
Yeah.
understand we're still kind of developing this roster, and the next 3 years are really when that should open. We don't need to, like, kind of get greedy and, like, push the chips in for something that you may have to pay too much for. You almost can't pay too much for, like, those premium, like someone like a Max Crosby or like a Myles Garrett, but
Yeah.
someone like Hassan Reddick, or a position of not need, or someone that's not completely elite. I don't think the
Yeah.
Bears need to be active at the trade deadline. If it's not maybe moving someone themselves, like a Jack Sanborn or a
Cool.
Khalil Herbert,
Yeah. Yeah.
even
Okay. I
like
think we're
Terrell
pretty much
Smith,
on
man.
the same
Who
page.
knows?
I think you're right. I think with Myles Garrett, if you at least have to make the call because he's
Yo,
Myles Garrett,
yo,
right?
we actually do have a bunch of draft picks and money. What
Right.
is it going to cost?
And they might say it's going to cost you 3 first-round picks plus a player and like all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's
No, but
not
then
worth it. But I
okay,
think
well, hold on. Let's talk. Okay, so maybe it's not three first, but we
yeah,
have an awesome second this year, and maybe it's two
yeah,
firsts in that, and you can have
sure,
Jack Sanborn. Who is
yeah.
that? You'll love him. You
You're gonna
actually
love
will
him.
love.
He's
Yo, you will
great.
love
He's
him. Yeah, he
fantastic.
is. He works hard. He's never out of play specials.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, I think you have to at least call there. But I agree with you with all the other guys. With Hassan Reddick, I have no really interest in trading for Hassan Reddick. Not that Hassan Reddick wouldn't be an upgrade, he would be, but I think you really need to save those picks unless you're
totally.
getting a Myles Garrett for offensive line help next year
Yeah,
because offensive linemen don't get traded.
you
It
build. There is no doubt.
mostly doesn't happen.
Yeah, there
Uh,
is no doubt that you build through the draft, and
yeah,
I think me and you both agree we would almost always just rather have those picks. And for on a pick talk for a minute, if by the grace of God that
yeah,
pick turns into a fourth from the Steelers, dude, this offseason we have 2/4, likely 2/3, 2 seconds, and a first.
hmm
I don't even know if we have that many roster spots for that much young talent. Like,
yeah.
the Bears are in
And
such
and
a
here's the
good
thing about
position.
saving those picks is it doesn't even necessarily mean you're going to make those picks come next April. It's you could potentially trade those picks in the offseason for an offensive lineman because that's when the offensive lineman could potentially be traded. And you also are not paying the premium you're paying at the trade deadline. If you trade for Myles Garrett now at the trade deadline, you're going to pay more for him than if you traded for Myles Garrett in the offseason or any player. You're always just going to pay more at the trade deadline. So just because you save the picks now doesn't mean you're necessarily going to use those. I do think you should build the draft, but you could use those picks in the offseason trade, or you could use those picks to maybe trade up if you do have a situation where, like, hey, we really want Will Campbell from
Yep.
LSU. He's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
top
yeah.
10. We're not going to be drafting there. We really want him, and we think he's an piece. You can trade up and just get that guy.
Yep.
Again, I'm not saying they should do that because I don't think that's the best way, but I'm just saying that's an option for them if they have all those picks available. So I think we're on the same page. If you can get Myles Garrett, maybe even lesser to extent, I'd be okay with Max Crosby as well for at a reasonable price. You just do that because it's going to make your defense phenomenal, but you don't mortgage your future or even trade one pick for other guys.
No, and I mean, honestly, I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say, if you want to do the classic polls move, I'm fine with him taking those shots. They're sixth round pick. Yo, you want to make another Darrell Taylor move, a Chris Williams move? Fine,
That's fair.
sure. Young, athletic.
I wouldn't trade a day 2 pick
No,
for a
exactly.
slight
And
upgrade.
that was kind of what I said. I said no half measures. Like either
Yep.
do like the frugal polls thing, or do the hey, it's fucking Miles Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, what I think I
you
do
know
not
how
think
you'd
Myles
react if you
Garrett.
woke up and Miles Garrett was a Bear? You'd lose your
That'd be
mind.
insane. That being
You
said,
play you place the
I
bet.
think that the odds of the Bears or any team even trading for Myles Garrett are probably 1%.
No, the
And
fact
Max,
is he's 27 and he's not part of the problem. He's part of the solution.
yeah, and I don't think Max Crosby's getting traded either, although he's probably a little bit more likely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, who knows? It doesn't that the Raiders move didn't feel as much as like a submission of tanking as the Browns move did, or
Yeah,
like the Browns move did with Amari Cooper. Trading Amari Cooper, who was like probably the only light on that offense. I guess now Chubb's back, but like was actually like fuck it, burn it. So it's like
yeah.
at that point you actually do just call and say, yeah, you blowing it up.
Well, I think part of that is also the Browns are not really in a position to take a big cap hit by trading Myles Garrett, which they would have to take a relatively big cap hit by trading Myles Garrett.
Would
But
they?
Max Crosby has a much smaller dead cap hit for the Raiders if they trade him, so I think he's just more likely to be traded. But the Browns, I think, to your point, are more in a rebuilding, selling, just blow it
Yeah.
all up mode. But they just can't do that because Deshaun Watson's contract is
Dude.
insane. So
It could
uh,
always be worse. Like it's so funny how much they botched that, dude.
oh man, that's so bad. It's one of the worst contracts. It has to be the worst contracts in football right now, and then
So
potentially of all
bad.
time.
Yo, like straight out of like all of that like chaos going on with like the legal stuff. They
Yeah,
gave him $250 million fully guaranteed. And he has returned the favor by being literally the worst player in the league.
yeah.
It's offensive to watch him play. It's disgusting. That's not the sport I love.
No, it's bad. Like I think that and then the Panthers trading for trading up to get Bryce Young and trading giving the Bears everything, like those are the two worst moves in recent history by far. Like
That's
those two
funny
moves,
you
like
say that.
you just feel sick for the if you
I
were a fan.
said I said to my buddy, like literally the four worst moves in the history of bad quarterback moves have all happened in like the last 5 years. Because remember what
What are the other two?
The Broncos did for Russell
Oh
Wilson?
yeah, I always forget
And
about that. Yeah,
he's a Steeler now.
what was that? 3 first-round picks, and they
Three, and then and then gave him
had a
a
big
bucket.
contract. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I forgot about that one. Yeah, what's the fourth?
Um, Trey Lance.
Oh yeah,
Straight up big time to go get him. And he was there for a
yeah,
cup of coffee.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
trading up in the draft to get him over.
Dude.
Well, that was the Fields draft.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
So
they
they
come in
didn't.
third because Wilson went second. Then
Yeah,
they trade him to the Cowboys and he
the
goes into the
Fields one.
preseason and just throws a million interceptions. Like this
Yeah,
guy's
those
broken.
that's a good point. Those are like really for. I mean, the only the 49ers got so lucky that they ended up getting Brock Purdy in that draft cast because if they didn't get Brock Purdy, they would be absolutely fucked. Like they'd be
Yeah.
so screwed. And it's just like
Dude,
they got lucky, and
fire
then
him.
they
The Trey
yeah
Lance move would get a lot of people fired if you weren't the
yeah.
fuck.
I feel like people would talk even more about that if and then all of it. Bear this one, the Daniel Jones extension. Like I don't know if that's quite on the par with those four, but it's not good.
I was thinking about this the
I'll
other day.
say
The
that.
thing that's crazy is like there was a little bit before that extension and before he got hurt where he was kind of playing some ball. And at the very least, like
A little bit.
he's like he's it sucks. It's like quarterback limbo. Daniel Jones probably is one of the 32 best professional quarterbacks in the
Yeah,
world right now. And it's like,
true.
that it sucks that that's not good enough to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
And it sucks that
yeah,
I got to pay you $45 million.
yeah.
But like, I guess the wisdom there is that like, you actually just don't. If you don't have one of the ones that get you Super Bowl, just let them.
I think it's so hard, but I think that is the right move. Like I think if you have a
Seriously.
Daniel Jones type, it's like we gotta just let him walk. And like
Daniel, we'll give you $25 million.
yeah, I mean because like you got what if go back in time to before they give him that extension. You're right, Daniel Jones was playing like decently well.
Dude,
Like
the
you could
narrative
have
on Daniel
easily
Jones is
convinced the team.
different.
you could have easily convinced a team to give them a first round pick for Daniel Jones.
He got hurt and then
And
came back and played bad ball, and it muddied the water. But
yeah,
people talk about him like he's a bumbling idiot now, and that wasn't exactly the case. Like it was kind of like they were giving him some grace because he was coming along, and he was kind of coming along. And then he got
yeah,
hurt, and then he played weird, and now he's like he literally has his this identity of being like a complete idiot, and it's like I don't really know if that's fair.
yeah. We'll see. I'm starting Daniel Jones in fantasy this week, so I need him to
Dude,
play one good game. I have
I
Caleb
started
Williams
I
as
started in
my
fantasy
quarterback.
this week, and he got me 11 points, and I lost by 3.
So,
Fucking idiot. And I'm over here pumping his tires.
yeah, really.
Dude, I made a savvy trade for Caleb Williams as well, and I was like, and I started him for this Panthers game, and I hit that Keenan Allen bet. So all this conspired, and I was like, this is what it's about.
That's right.
As a Bears fan, it was really good. Do you want to look forward a little bit?
Yeah, I was just actually pulling up the Bears schedule, so let's
Cool.
look forward a little bit. Let's start with
Bye this week.
We got the bye week, which I think
the people
I
you
keep
need to
going
look
back
at as
and
far as
forth.
getting healthy. Kyler Gordon, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Do you know?
He looked to be okay because I saw he was on
Dancing
Instagram
around.
doing stuff.
Cool.
So
Good. We want him to get healthy. Brisker got to get his brain right. You got the scrambled egg brain at the moment.
he should be okay, probably.
Um,
Tyreek Stevenson was out too, so
Oh yeah.
so hopefully I mean, you do have a little bit of injuries, but also I keep on going back and forth with my thought process of yes, it's good because gotta get those our defensive secondary back, but we were playing pretty well. I kind of wanted to just keep that rolling.
I know.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Here, food for thought. Bears came out of the bye last year and beat the brakes off the Lions at home.
Yeah.
So if that's any indication, hopefully Eberflus knows what he's doing coming out of buys. It feels like that's a really real thing with quarterbacks, or either out of a bye, coaches. You're either an out of a bye coach or you're kind of a not out of a bye coach. It feels like Nagy always came up flat out of a bye, and it was something that I think we really hated Trestman for as well. But it seems like Flus can get the boys ready, and I was thinking about this. If we believe that Caleb Williams is the guy that he is, and I think that he is, like I kind of think he's got a little bit of that Kobe mentality to him. Like there's no doubt in my mind, like he is like this game like means something to him, and it's like this is a game like honestly where I think you get a glimpse of like the Caleb Williams experience in a game like this. If you think he's the guy, like I don't think he's going to be like I said after in the Jags game, I thought he was the best football player on the field, honestly. And I think sometimes these games would happen and Justin Fields would go out and Justin Fields was the reason you lost and you knew it. And then the big moment he threw the picks to the Packers and you knew it and he sunk the ship. Yeah. I honestly think I've said this to you before. I think moments matter in games like this. Like I have a good feeling about the Bears going into it. I really do.
Yeah. So we got Commanders. So we got the bye week and then the Commanders. And I do think you're right. I think Caleb's going to come out with a little extra chip on his shoulder because he's seen the Jaden Daniels is better. The Bears.
Kyle Brandt asked him about it straight up, and he was just cool as a cucumber. Yeah, like happy for him. Like I know Jaden, and he said I know Cliff too. Like this game, like there's some ties. Like, he's from DC.
True.
He's going to DC.
Yeah. So it'll be a good test for them. It'll be a good 100%. Test for the offense and defense because the Commanders' offense has been pretty lights out this year. So this will be. I mean, I guess we had the Texans in week 2, but I think this will be the best test so far. I think for the Bears defense. And yeah, Caleb and the Commanders are definitely a step up from the Jaguars, Panthers for sure. So it's a good test for Caleb too. So it's gonna be a really good litmus test to see
the perfect middle of the road test, man.
Yeah. I'll know exactly where the Bears are at after this week, after the bye.
It's not like you got to go play the Texans week 2. It's not like you're going to play the Ravens right now. It's a team that just, I think their record's 4-2 now, so the same record as ours. It's a team that I think the rest of the league sees in that same kind of echelon as us. It's a rookie quarterback with all those other ties that we've said about, Caleb Williams. I think our roster is way better. We have a legit defense, and I think their defense is a bit of a sieve right now.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Allen is hurt, I believe.
I think he's
probably going to miss that game. Is that for the year?
I think he's out for the year, yeah.
Okay. So then, I mean, that's a huge blow for them. I think the Bears defense is the best defense the Commanders will have faced so far this
Yeah.
year. So it's going to be a big test for them too, because it's going to be, they've been on a bunch of bad teams too, which
Yep.
no one seems to be talking about. Everyone's talking about the Bears being on bad teams, but not talking about the Commanders being on bad teams. I'm not salty. It's okay. So it'll be a big test for them, and I think the Bears are going to come out on top on that one. I do really do. I think the Bears are going to stop them defensively. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I think it's going to be. I think the Bears are going to keep hold them around 20 points, and we're going to score 24, 25, 26.
It's like that perfect difficulty level as like that game that you'd peg as like a first, like, okay, this is where we need to see it compete. Because like I think, like I said, when I went and circled all the games, I had us at 4-2 at this point. Maybe I'm optimistic, but I did think we had a good roster. I think there was a reason that we won 7 or 8 of our last like 10 games last year. I think the Bears are better on paper, and I think that if the quarterback is who we think that he is, like this is a game that I think the Bears should go in and have a pretty good statement win. It would be tough to try and have a statement win against someone like the Texans or like a team that's really good right now because we probably aren't there yet. But a team like the Skins, man, or I guess the Commanders now.
Yeah. I also do wonder if we played the Texans now, how differently that game would look. I don't know if we'd win it, but I think it would look a lot different.
I texted my buddies after that game and said, like, honestly, I'm usually pretty level-headed about how like we come out after a loss, and like I don't really care if we lose. There's not a whole lot of football teams I don't like. I came out of that game a bit of a Texans hater.
Yeah.
I really did. Buddy punched Roschon Johnson in the fucking face, and then he was like, then he was dancing on us all game. Al Shazier, literally, I mentioned to the boys like that guy's on my shit list. Al Shazier, but even Stroud coming up to Caleb Williams after the game and saying like, work on that, you'll get better. It's like
you're right, but that no one wants to hear that.
Peer. You guys were playing college ball at the same time, and he won the Heisman. You know that, right?
Right.
Like that's for him to big brother him like that. I know he probably didn't mean it from a bad place, and I know they probably are boys a little bit, but you could tell that like Caleb fully in that moment. Caleb basically hit him with okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's played exquisitely since that moment.
Yeah.
But he did it today. Or he did it on Sunday. They played Drake May, and the audio was like, "Hey, like work on those mistakes, kid. Like you'll be great. Like I see a lot in your game." It's like, "Yo, fuck you. You're 22 years old."
Right. Yeah, it's like when you're in like high school and like a sophomore. It's like trying to act cool, and you're a freshman. It's like, dude, you're a year older than me. Like,
I just started at UNC for 4 years. You just got here too.
Right.
But honestly,
I mean,
the year that he has, he kind of does have that, and they beat you because they're good because of him. So. Like to your point though, I would love to see the Texans again sooner than later.
Maybe the Super Bowl, who knows? But that's okay. So we got Commanders. Let's say we win that game. We're sitting at 5-2.
Dude. Okay.
5-2. Then go into the Cardinals.
Win that game. Win the Commanders game, and everything starts to get crazy. This Bears team could get really hot. Like I said this when you were gone. That the point I was trying to make is that, like, it's a special thing when the whole unit is playing the best ball of their life. In 2018, and I went through all the starters. Like everybody was playing the best ball of their life. Prince Amara, Kyle Fuller, Danny Trevathan, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson. Like everybody was playing the best ball of their life, and it's hard to look at the Bears defense right now and not think the same thing. If you win that Commanders game, you better beat that Cards team. Although it's a trap game. Where's that game? Is it at home or is it in Arizona?
It's on the road. On the road. But the Cardinals look so bad against the Packers.
So bad. They do. And at that point, Call of Duty will already be out.
Oh, okay.
That's a big thing. Cliff is the king.
Little insider information if you're planning to bet on that game.
You have to beat the Cardinals. And then who is it? It's the Pats, right?
Patriots at home.
No, you have to beat that Pats team too. Do you know why? Because you're a good team with a good quarterback. If you
that would put you at 7-2 going into
that Commanders game. If you lose that Commanders game, you could lose the Cardinals game too, and then maybe get your feet back under you with the Pats. and then you're what, 6-4,
So that would be
5-4,
6-5. No, it'd be 5-5. 5-4.
5-4, 5-4. Final answer. That's a
Math.
real possibility. The Commanders are good. They're getting Jaden Daniels in good spots. You're going into their barn. Maybe you lose that game. That's the one that's a toss-up. But if you win that game, I'm telling you, the Bears are going to go 7-2. And if the Bears are 7-2, man, it's starting to be like when that 2018 Bears team was just surprisingly like 7-2, and you're like, dude, this fucking team is good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that 7-2. I love the sound of 7-2. It could be 6-3. They could even be 5-4. Maybe things go off the rails a little bit. But this is the first year of a long window for the Bears. If they're 5-4 and they finish the season 9-7, or I guess 9-8, 10, whatever it is, it's just the first year of the window, and they're setting themselves up for. But I do think, I think they will come out of this window at probably 6-3. I'd say would be most likely. So that'd be 2-1. You beat the Patriots, and then you beat one of the Commanders or Cardinals. I think that's fair. But they could potentially win all three, and then in which case expectations get raised a little bit.
Totally. I think there's no doubt in my mind that if we beat the commies, then we'll win all three. I think if we lose to the commies, maybe you get trap game by one of them. I will say that I think it'll be interesting to after that we hit the gauntlet. That's like I saw the Bears blog broke the season down into 3 parts basically, and he said that like it's basically the first 6, the middle 3, and then like the ending like stretch where like basically shit hits the fan, and you kind of have an idea who everybody is.
Yeah. So let's say they go 7-2. After this, they win 3. They're at all 3 straight before we get to the divisional games. What do they finish at? I think you got 1, 2. You'd have 8 games left.
There's some tough ones in there. Seahawks are
There's
in there.
Some tough ones. It's Packers twice, Lions twice, Vikings twice, and then you got 49ers and the Seahawks. Dude. So, if you split the divisional games, let's say you 3-3, and then
totally, I think that's more fair than I think the rest of them realize.
So that's 4-4. That's like pretty conservative, I think, and that's 11 wins. That's conservative, I think, at that point. If they are 7-2 going into that game, I would say you probably win 12, 13 games.
You want to hear something so funny, and it's totally the PTSD of us as Bears fans. Is when I had all these games, when I was going through this in the off season, I finished at 10-7 or 10-6, whatever it is now, 10-7.
10-7, yeah.
I finished at 10-7, and I actually couldn't bring myself to give us either win against the Packers. Because I was like, honestly, as much as the Bears have kind of been bad, the last, dude, this blew my mind. We've got 1 winning season since Lovie Smith.
That 2018.
That's so fucked up.
I think we were 8-8 at one, because we made the playoffs twice.
Or maybe we had 2 winning seasons. Maybe it's 9-8 that one season.
Yeah.
And then his last season we were 10-6. Either way. So I couldn't bring myself to give us both up the Packers, but I think we probably beat the Seahawks. This 49ers team, maybe they'll hit their stride like they usually do, but they seem beatable. We kind of low-key, we should have beat the Lions twice last year.
Yeah.
And we've only gotten better, although they're fucking hot too, man.
Well, Lions without Aiden Hutchinson are a very different team.
Dude, it's actually so fucked up.
Yeah.
Did you watch the
oh yeah, I saw it live.
The broadcast we were watching didn't show it, but
I looked it up immediately because
I've never seen that before. A not planted leg.
Right. Yeah, it was weird.
Just moving through space, just
hits another
looked like a car crash.
Broken app. Yeah. But again, the question is if they are 7-2. The question is if they win these next 3 games, then I think they'll win 12 games probably. At least 12 games.
I think so too.
Obviously, if they're 5-4 instead.
What's the first one? Is the first game week 11 the Packers?
It goes Packers in week 11 on the road.
In Green Bay.
In Green Bay. Oh no! I'm sorry. It's at home.
Nice.
So at home, then Vikings at home, Lions on the road,
Nice.
49ers on the road, Vikings on the road, Lions at home, Seahawks at home, Packers on the road.
Packers on the road to end the season. Fuck.
Yeah, in Lambeau week 17, week 18,
No.
whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah,
man, if
like
they're
yeah,
7-2 in 3 weeks, I'm talking Super Bowl at that point. I think you'd have. I mean, you'd be stupid not to. If at that point that is what happens, if they're 7-2, come in and just beat the Commanders, Cardinals, I'd be like, yeah, no, we're going to the Super Bowl, not a doubt in my mind.
totally. I think like back in 2018, like it took a little while to be like, dude, this team could do it. Like to kind of like when we went into the playoff game was almost when I started to realize like I don't think there's a single team in the league that wants to see us right now. Honestly, that's how I felt about the Bears going into that playoff game. And if the Bears are 7-2 this year, I'll start to feel that a lot earlier because it, like I said, it really does kind of have some of the makings of some of those things where like people are playing above their potential. It's from like these mic'd up moments and like the stuff you see in the locker room, dude. It looks like these guys believe in themselves. And if Caleb is who like we said he is, like at the very least, baseline NFL starter, the rest of the roster is good enough to beat you to win the games against the bad teams, which they're starting to get fewer and far between as the season goes on. But if he keeps improving and like staying at the level he's playing at the last couple of weeks, dude, anything is possible.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy.
Yep.
It's been a long time since it's been this fun to be a Bears fan. When was the last time
really
it was fun to be a Bears fan?
2018. It was 2018, and then it's been all downhill since then.
2018, and then before that, 2 weeks in 2010 when we were winning playoff games. And then the Packers ripped our hearts out that day, and it was bad for like a long time. That was the Jay Cutler game when he got hurt.
Caleb Haney game, yeah.
It was also the Todd. It was
Todd Collins.
Todd Collins
coming in and just
2 seconds
like corpse.
Lost. Sorry, Todd.
Yeah. Todd Collins.
But no, like seriously, at least probably 2018, because even 2019, man, we got out to it, and there was such
2019. The hype was over.
Week one.
The first quarter. Oh no, that's not true. No, it was true. Yeah, the first.
It was. That was the one where the Bears looked dysfunctional the whole first game against the Packers. I was in the building.
Yeah, no, that was it, and it never recovered after that.
I went to
literally right from the get go.
I went to the week one opener in 2018 too, and that one was like
that one sucked at the end, but it was exciting. I bet.
Yeah, I wanted to drive home that night. I was like, but different outcomes because like after that game, like 2018, it was like we traded for Khalil Mack, but it was still like we had to get to know who the rest of we had a big offseason. We just signed Trey Burton. We just signed Allen Robinson. We just signed Taylor Gabriel. Like we had to get to know everybody, and halfway through the season, it was like, whoa, like. The guys are putting it together. Like 2018 could be something special. Going into 2019, it was like, we have all these amazing guys. And we're in the system the second year. We should be good. And we were bad. It was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it was like all the excitement was like, okay, we're back into to limbo. Like right now feels like the makings of like the good times.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is fun.
It's I've waited my whole life for this. So
I know.
It feels good. Hopefully it stays this way. I'm sure it will. It will. Like I said,
Bears got a week to get healthy, and then we get to go and do probably the most fun game the Bears have played since that 2018 playoff game. I don't think there's anything that comes close. Bears have a chance. The Bears have a chance to move, especially if you beat these the Commanders. You're gonna. It's serious for the playoff stakes. That's a big part of it. It's actually super important for the playoff stakes. Public perception is going to shift. Like, maybe the Bears aren't like there, like they're the guys, there that are, keeping these guys out, and who knows where they are up top. And it would be just delicious because everybody's heard the conversations about, Jaden versus Caleb and how they both performed. To win that would be like, I like. It would have to be a Titans level performance for that win to not be like one of the sweetest wins we felt in a while.
Yeah, I think
we'd have to have like 4 defensive touchdowns, and Caleb played terrible for me to come out being like,
yeah, that's just not gonna happen. Like I think at this point like we're not living week to week like we have in the past. Like there's no fear that we're gonna go and just lay an egg.
I know what
It's
you
gonna be
mean.
like terrible. So it's like even if we lose the game, I think it's gonna be a close game. I think Caleb Williams is gonna do a lot of good stuff,
The
and I think
second
the
half
defense
of the
will do a
Jags
lot of good
game was the
stuff.
most like weirdly I've ever felt watching the Bears like play offense. I
The
tweeted
Bears,
it was like that 3-game stretch with Josh McCown where it was like, dude, is this what it's supposed to feel like?
yeah, and like I said, like even if you do lose the game, I think it's gonna be a situation where you're like, okay, we lost that game, we'll get them next week. It's not like in the past when you lose a game, it's like can't believe we lost this game. Like
Yeah,
we're
we're
we
not gonna. Yeah, it's
like
almost
it's
like
gonna be like
you
okay,
almost knew you were pretenders. It was like we kind of needed to sneak by there.
exactly, because you in your back of your mind you knew the Bears weren't legit and they needed to win every game because the next week we could always lose. But now it's the next week we could always win.
We
Is the
totally
way
could. Like, even that 49ers game.
yeah.
Maybe it's blind faith in 4 good weeks of performance from Caleb Williams, but it's all the stuff that he looked great at in college, and he doesn't look like at the moment doesn't look too
Yeah,
big for him. And honestly, he looks like the leader of this team already.
this isn't a fifth round rookie coming in and playing well for 4 weeks. This is the first overall pick Heisman winner playing well for four and
Best
a half.
record for a first overall
No,
pick in the common era.
yeah, it's just different. I mean, it's not even like a late first round pick who's like coming in and doing well. It's like this is the first overall pick. He won a
Oh,
Heisman.
100%.
He's been exactly as he was built by anyone with half a brain who watched him in college. So
It was a guy that was unbelievable. It was a treat to watch him before it ever felt like he could be a Bear.
yeah,
And then it was
exactly.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, what do
So
you mean?
not a doubt in my
What do you
mind that
mean
he's
you're going to
gonna
give
be
us
good
all
for a
that
long
for
time.
Bryce Young?
And the Bears are going to are now in the next 10, 12 years going to be in contention in every game that they play.
They should.
As long as he's healthy.
Really, seriously. Like, and for those that haven't been able to go and do it, like go back and watch the tape from the last 2 games. It's what NFL quarterbacking looked like. There's nothing. I mean, he's got a couple missed throws, and it's unfortunate that in some of the other games they turned into incompletions. In the last couple games, they've been picks. Or I guess the Panthers game it should have been a pick, but then it was like the win or whatever. It's unfortunate that the missed throws have been so obvious because an interception shows up in that stat sheet like that. But outside of 2 or 3 plays, man, it's just been like excellent decision making, excellent execution. There's not a part of the field where it doesn't look like he can get it done. He's good in the system. And like I even thought this to myself: the fact that he went down there and we're going to get Caleb Williams a touchdown here, when other rookies are probably just like keeping their head above water, is like it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think we've talked probably about Caleb Williams enough. As much as I love talking about Caleb.
Totally. I can't believe I have to wait another week to watch him play.
I know. That's really the worst part. It's like I don't know what I'm going to do with myself this Sunday. It's like I guess I'll do like chores around the house while I watch other teams play football. Like whatever. But well, I don't know. Maybe we'll be back next week. It is a bye week, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get into some like draft talk. You know how much I love draft talk.
Yeah, 100%. And like honestly, the deadline that probably would be worth talking about trade deadline at that point too.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week. We'll definitely will be back for sure week after the Commanders game.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just ending there. Thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. We really appreciate everyone's support. Thank you for the people who commented today. Really thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to everyone next week. Bear down.
Bear down.
I missed the button.